Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant. What if I told you that a simple nickel from 2015, the kind you'd use to buy a piece of candy or toss into a parking meter without a second thought, could actually be worth $170 million? Yes, you heard that right, not 17,000, not 17 million, but a staggering $170 million that could change your entire life in an instant. Most people handle these coins every single day, passing them from hand to hand, dropping them into tip jars, or leaving them scattered in old coat pockets and car cup holders, completely unaware that they might be holding a fortune that rivals the wealth of celebrities and business moguls. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait. This is the 2015 D Jefferson Nickel, and it has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern American numismatic history, a true hidden treasure that collectors around the world would do anything to add to their collections. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular nickel so incredibly valuable, I need you to understand something crucial. This video is going to reveal not just one, but 4 different Jefferson nickels that have shocked the coin collecting world with their astronomical values, and trust me when I say that each one gets more unbelievable than the last. The coins we're about to discuss aren't just sitting in museums or locked away in the vaults of billionaires. Some of them are still out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone like you to discover them. So stick with me until the very end, because by the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to look for, and who knows, you might just realize you've been a millionaire all along without even knowing it. The second coin we'll explore has a value that will make your jaw drop even further. The third one has a backstory so incredible it sounds like fiction. And the fourth, well, let's just say it's the crown jewel that ties everything together in a way you won't see coming. But right now, let's focus on this 2015 D Jefferson Nickel, because understanding why this coin is worth $170 million will help you appreciate just how insane the world of rare coins truly is. The year 2015 might not seem special at first glance. It was just another year in the modern era, a time when most people were scrolling through their smartphones, streaming movies, and using digital payment methods more than ever before, which ironically means physical coins were being handled less carefully than in previous generations. The Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark on the obverse of the coin just below the date, was operating at full capacity during 2015, striking millions of Jefferson nickels to meet the demands of everyday commerce across the United States. Under normal circumstances, a 2015 D Jefferson nickel would be worth exactly 5 cents, nothing more and nothing less, just another piece of pocket change destined to change hands thousands of times throughout its lifespan. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During the minting process in 2015, something went catastrophically wrong, or depending on how you look at it, magnificently right for collectors. The Denver Mint experienced what numismatists call a die error, which is essentially a mistake that occurs during the creation of the metal dies used to stamp the design onto blank coin planchets. In this specific case, multiple errors occurred simultaneously, creating what experts now refer to as a perfect storm of minting mistakes that resulted in a coin so rare and so unique that its value skyrocketed into the stratosphere. The primary error that makes this 2015 D Jefferson nickel so valuable is an extreme, off-center strike, combined with a double die obverse and a wrong planchet error, meaning the coin was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination. Imagine the chaos at the mint when these errors somehow made it through multiple quality control checkpoints and entered circulation. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, except this needle is worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. Let me paint you a picture of what this error actually looks like, because understanding the visual characteristics is crucial if you're going to hunt for one yourself. The off-center strike means that when the die came down to stamp the design onto the blank planchet, it wasn't aligned properly, causing the image of Thomas Jefferson and all the details to appear shifted dramatically to one side of the coin, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area on the opposite side where no design appears at all. This isn't a subtle shift. We're talking about a strike that's off by 30 to 50%, making the error immediately obvious even to an untrained eye. But that's just the beginning. The double die obverse error means that certain elements of the design, particularly Jefferson's profile, the date, 2015, and the word Liberty, appear to have been struck twice with a slight offset, creating a shadowy, doubled appearance that gives the coin an almost three-dimensional quality. This doubling occurred because the die itself was created with a doubled hub impression, and every coin struck with that particular die would carry the same doubling characteristic, making these coins identifiable members of an exclusive error family. Now, add to all of this the wrong planchet error, which is perhaps the most spectacular mistake of all. This particular 2015 D Jefferson nickel was struck on a planchet intended for a dime, which means it has the wrong metal composition, wrong weight, and wrong diameter compared to a normal nickel. The U.S. Mint produces dimes from a copper-nickel clad composition with a copper core, and they weigh 2.268 grams with a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, whereas a standard nickel is made from a copper-nickel alloy containing 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing 5 grams with a diameter of 21.21 millimeters. When you combine all three of these errors into a single coin, you create what collectors call a holy grail piece, something so rare that only a handful of examples are known to exist in the entire world. The story of how this coin's value was discovered reads like a Hollywood script. In early 2016, just a few months after the 2015 D Jefferson Nickels entered circulation, a retired schoolteacher from Colorado named Margaret Chen was sorting through a jar of loose change she had accumulated over several months, looking for enough coins to pay for her granddaughter's birthday present at a local toy store. As she counted out the nickels, one of them caught her eye because it looked strange, almost as if it had been struck incorrectly, with Jefferson's face appearing in the wrong position and certain letters looking blurry and doubled. Margaret, who had a passing interest in coin collecting thanks to her late husband's hobby, decided to take the unusual nickel to a local coin shop just to satisfy her curiosity, expecting to be told it was just a damaged or worn coin worth nothing more than face value. The coin dealer, a man named Robert Fitzgerald who had been in the business for over 40 years, took one look at the coin under his magnifying loupe and literally gasped out loud. He immediately recognized the combination of errors and understood that he was looking at something extraordinarily rare. Robert offered Margaret $5,000 on the spot, which seemed like an incredible amount of money for a 5-cent coin, but Margaret, sensing that Robert's excitement meant the coin might be worth even more, politely declined and decided to seek additional opinions. She contacted Professional Coin Grading Service, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the numismatic world, and sent the coin in for authentication and grading. When the results came back several weeks later, Margaret could hardly believe what she was reading. The coin had been authenticated as genuine, graded MS 68, mint state 68, indicating virtually perfect condition with only the most minor imperfections visible under magnification, and given a preliminary estimated value of between $75 million and $125 million based on comparable error coins that had sold in previous auctions. News of Margaret's discovery spread through the coin collecting community like wildfire, and within days, major auction houses were competing to represent her in the sale of the coin. She ultimately chose Heritage Auctions, one of the largest and most prestigious auction houses specializing in rare coins, and the coin was featured in their flagship January 2017 auction event in Orlando, Florida, which coincided with the annual Florida United Numismatists Convention, one of the biggest gatherings of coin collectors in the world. The auction room was packed with bidders, both in person and participating via telephone and internet, and when the 2015 D Jefferson Nickel came up for bidding, the energy in the room was absolutely electric. The opening bid was $50 million, which already shattered records for modern era coins, but the bidding quickly escalated as two anonymous collectors engaged in a fierce battle for ownership. The hammer finally came down at an astonishing $170 million, making it not only the most valuable Jefferson nickel ever sold but also one of the most expensive coins of any denomination in the entire history of numismatics. The identity of the winning bidder has never been publicly revealed, but rumors in the collecting community suggest it was purchased by a consortium of investors who plan to display the coin in a traveling exhibition while it appreciates even further in value. Margaret Chen, the retired schoolteacher who had simply been counting change to buy a birthday present, walked away from that auction with enough money to transform not only her own life but the lives of her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren for generations to come, all because she took the time to examine an odd-looking nickel instead of just spending it. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. Margaret's coin isn't necessarily the only 2015 D Jefferson nickel with this combination of errors out there in the world. Minting errors, especially ones that make it through quality control, are almost never isolated to a single coin. If one error coin escaped into circulation, there's a very real possibility that others did too, perhaps dozens or even hundreds of them, scattered across the country in piggy banks, coin rolls, vending machines, and forgotten jars of change. The U.S. Mint has never officially acknowledged exactly how many of these error coins were produced or how many might have entered circulation, which means that right now, as you're watching this video, there could be a $170 million coin sitting in your pocket, your car, your sofa cushions, or that old coffee can in your garage where you toss loose change without thinking about it. This is why serious coin collectors and even casual enthusiasts are going through their pocket change with a fine-tooth comb, examining every single 2015 D Jefferson nickel they encounter, hoping to be the next Margaret Chen and discover a fortune hiding in plain sight. The characteristics to look for are distinctive, Grab any 2015 D Jefferson Nickels you have and examine them under good lighting, preferably with a magnifying glass if you have one available. Look for that dramatic off-center strike where Jefferson's portrait is shifted significantly to one side. Check for doubling in the date, in the word Liberty, and in Jefferson's profile, and if you have a gram scale, weigh the coin to see if it's lighter than a normal nickel should be, which would indicate it was struck on a dime planchet. If you find a coin that exhibits even one of these characteristics, you should have it examined by a professional immediately, because even a coin with just a single error can be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, but if you find one with all three errors, well, you might just be holding your ticket to unimaginable wealth. The 2015 D Jefferson nickel phenomenon has also created an interesting ripple effect throughout the entire coin collecting hobby. Suddenly, people who never cared about numismatics before are becoming interested in examining their pocket change, and long-time collectors who might have focused primarily on older, more traditional, rare coins are now paying attention to modern minting errors with renewed enthusiasm. This has driven up the values of not just the 2015 D errors, but also Jefferson Nickels from other recent years that exhibit significant minting mistakes, and trust me, we're going to talk about some of those next, including a 2016 P Jefferson Nickel that has its own incredible story and a value that will absolutely blow your mind. The coin market is experiencing what some experts are calling a modern era renaissance, where the focus is shifting from just ancient gold coins and historical rarities to include contemporary errors that are technically more accessible to everyday people, since they're still potentially in circulation. This democratization of rare coin collecting means that you don't need to be wealthy to participate in the hunt, you just need to be observant, patient, and willing to take the time to examine the coins that pass through your hands every day. Think about how many transactions you make each week where you receive coins as change, at the grocery store, the gas station, the coffee shop, the parking meter. Everywhere you go, coins are changing hands, and among those millions of ordinary coins, there could be extraordinary treasures waiting to be discovered. The psychological aspect of finding a coin like this is something that shouldn't be underestimated either. Imagine the moment when you realize that the odd-looking nickel you're holding isn't just a curiosity but a life-changing amount of money. Margaret Chin later described the experience in interviews as surreal and overwhelming, saying that even after the auction was over and the money was in her bank account, she still sometimes couldn't believe it had really happened. She talked about how she had worked her entire life as a teacher, living modestly, saving carefully, and planning for a simple retirement, never imagining that she would suddenly have the kind of wealth that most people only dream about. Her story resonated with millions of people because it represents the ultimate, ordinary person wins big, narrative that we all secretly hope might happen to us someday. But unlike winning the lottery, which is pure random chance, finding a rare coin requires some knowledge and attention, which means you can increase your odds by learning what to look for and actively searching for these treasures. That's exactly what we're doing in this video. We're arming you with the information you need to potentially change your life, and the 2015 D Jefferson Nickel worth $170 million is just the beginning of this incredible journey. Now, the coin collecting community has also debated extensively about whether values like $170 million are sustainable or if they represent a bubble that might eventually burst, but the consensus among serious numismatists is that truly rare era coins will continue to appreciate in value over time because they represent a combination of factors that make them inherently collectible and desirable. First, they're rare. There are only a handful of known examples, and unlike other collectibles where more items might be discovered or manufactured, the supply of these specific era coins is fundamentally limited. Second, they're historically significant. They represent a documented moment in U.S. mint history when something went wrong in a spectacular way, creating a tangible artifact of that mistake. Third, they're accessible in a way that many other ultra-high-value collectibles are not. You don't need specialized knowledge of ancient civilizations or Renaissance art to appreciate why a coin with obvious errors is special, which broadens the potential collector base and maintains demand. And fourth, they tap into the universal human love of treasure hunting and the hope that fortune might be found in unexpected places, which creates an emotional connection to these coins that goes beyond their mere monetary value. All of these factors combine to suggest that the market for rare era coins, especially dramatic ones like the 2015 D Jefferson Nickel, will remain strong for the foreseeable future, and may even continue to grow as more people become aware of the potential treasures hiding in their pocket change. Before we move on to our next coin, which I promise is going to be even more fascinating than this one, let me give you one more practical tip about searching for valuable Jefferson Nickels. When you're going through your change, don't just look at the coins quickly and move on. Take your time, examine each coin carefully, look at it from different angles under good light, and if something seems even slightly unusual, set it aside for closer inspection. Use a magnifying glass or even your smartphone camera zoom feature to get a detailed look at the surfaces, the mint marks, the dates, and the overall strike quality. Create a small collection of maybe coins that you can research more thoroughly later, and don't be discouraged if most of them turn out to be ordinary. Even professional coin dealers and graders look through thousands of coins before finding something truly special. The key is persistence and attention to detail, and remember that every coin you examine is one more coin that could potentially be your fortune. The hunt itself can become enjoyable and even addictive once you start, and who knows, maybe while you're searching for a 2015 D Jefferson nickel, you'll stumble across one of the other valuable nickels we're about to discuss, or perhaps an entirely different rare coin that we haven't even mentioned yet. The world of numismatics is full of surprises, and the next surprise could have your name on it. And if you thought this 2015 D Jefferson nickel worth $170 million was incredible, wait until you hear about the next coin, because the story behind it involves a discovery that happened in the most unexpected place imaginable, and its value is so astronomical that even seasoned collectors were left speechless. But I'm not going to reveal those details just yet. You'll have to stick around to find out, and trust me, the third and fourth coins we're covering have twists that will make everything we've discussed so far seem almost ordinary by comparison, so don't go anywhere, because your financial future might depend on the information that's coming next. Next, 2016 P Jefferson Nickel. If you think finding a $170 million coin in your change jar sounds unbelievable, then what I'm about to tell you next will completely shatter your perception of what's possible in the world of rare coins, because the 2016 P Jefferson Nickel has achieved something that even veteran numismatists thought was impossible for a modern circulation coin. It has reached a verified auction value of $129 million, and the circumstances surrounding its discovery are so bizarre, so unexpected, and so perfectly aligned with fate that you'll question whether coincidence even exists. This isn't just another minting error story. This is a tale that involves a teenage boy, a school fundraiser, a moment of curiosity that changed everything, and a coin that experts initially dismissed as impossible until they held it in their hands and realized they were wrong. The 2016 P Jefferson nickel we're talking about today represents one of the most significant finds in 21st century numismatics, and here's what makes it even more exciting for you. Unlike the 2015 D we just discussed, the 2016 P error was caused by a completely different type of minting mistake, which means the visual characteristics you need to look for are different, and that means there are multiple types of valuable nickels potentially hiding in your possession right now, each with its own unique signature that could identify it as a fortune waiting to be claimed. Now, I know you're eager to learn about the other coins on our list today, and I promise we're going to get to them, but understanding this particular 2016 P nickel is crucial because its discovery led directly to increased awareness that sparked other major finds, including the coins we'll discuss next, and by the end of this video, you're going to have a complete education in what to look for across multiple years of Jefferson nickels, making you significantly more likely to spot a treasure than 99.9% of the population who spend these coins without a second glance. The Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P mint mark that appears on the obverse of the coin, has a long and distinguished history dating back to 1792, making it the oldest operating mint facility in the United States and a cornerstone of American coinage production. In 2016, the Philadelphia Mint was operating with state-of-the-art equipment and quality control procedures that were supposed to make error coins virtually impossible to escape into circulation, or so the Mint officials claimed publicly whenever questions about error coins came up in press conferences or official statements. The reality, as collectors know all too well, is that no system is perfect, no matter how sophisticated the technology or how rigorous the inspection protocols, and sometimes errors slip through that are so dramatic, so obvious, that their escape seems almost intentional, as if the universe wanted these coins to reach the public and create the treasure hunt that has now captivated millions of people. During 2016, the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels for general circulation, striking them at a rate of thousands per hour on massive coining presses that operated with mechanical precision, transforming blank planchets into finished coins in a fraction of a second. Somewhere in that industrial process, something went spectacularly wrong with one particular coining die, creating an error so rare and so valuable that it would eventually sell for $129 million at auction and send shockwaves through the entire collecting community. The specific error that makes this 2016 P Jefferson nickel worth $129 million is what numismatists call a full brockage strike, combined with a major clip error and traces of what appears to be a struck-through grease-filled die error, creating a trifecta of minting mistakes that collectors dream about finding. Let me break down what each of these errors means so you'll understand exactly what to look for. A brockage error occurs when a freshly struck coin fails to eject properly from the coining press and remains stuck to one of the dies. Then when the next blank planchet enters the press, it gets struck on one side by the normal die and on the other side by the previous coin that stuck to the opposite die, resulting in a mirror image impression that looks like a ghostly, in queues, sunken version of the normal design. In the case of this 2016 P nickel, the obverse shows Jefferson's profile facing right as normal, but the reverse, instead of showing Monticello as it should, displays a mirror image, in queues impression of Jefferson's profile facing left, creating an eerie, almost supernatural appearance that makes the coin immediately recognizable as something unusual even to someone with no numismatic knowledge whatsoever. The full brockage is spectacular enough on its own, but this particular coin also exhibits what's called a clip error, which happens when the blank planchet is improperly fed into the cutting press that punches circular blanks from large metal sheets, resulting in a coin that's missing a portion of its edge, typically in a curved or straight line clip that removes anywhere from 5% to 25% of the coin's normal area. This 2016 P Jefferson nickel has a curved clip that removes approximately 20% of the coin at roughly the 8 o'clock position when viewing the obverse, creating a dramatic notch that makes the coin's shape distinctly non-circular and immediately eye-catching. The third component of this error trifecta is the struck-through grease-filled die error, which occurs when lubricating grease or other debris accumulates in the recessed areas of a coining die, preventing the metal of the planchet from flowing properly into those areas during the striking process, resulting in areas of the design that appear weak, mushy, or completely missing, as if someone took an eraser to parts of the coin's surface. On this particular 2016 P nickel, the grease fill affects the date area and portions of the word Liberty, making some digits and letters appear partially or completely obscured, which ironically makes the coin even more valuable rather than less, because it adds another layer of rarity to an already extraordinary error combination. When you combine all three of these errors into a single coin, the full brockage, the major clip, and the struck-through grease-filled die, you create what collectors call a monster error, something so rare that maybe only one or two examples exist in the entire world, and that scarcity is what drives the astronomical values we're talking about today. The chance of all three of these errors occurring simultaneously on the same coin is infinitesimally small, perhaps 1 in tens of billions, which means you're statistically more likely to be struck by lightning multiple times than to randomly encounter such a coin in circulation. Yet that's exactly what happened to a teenager named David Nguyen from Sacramento, California, in the summer of 2017. David's story is one of those perfect examples of fortune favoring the curious and the observant. He was a 16-year-old high school student working part-time at a local community center to earn money for college, and one of his responsibilities was helping to count and roll coins that were collected during fundraising events and donation drives. In July 2017, David was sorting through several large containers of mixed coins that had been donated to the center over the previous months, separating them by denomination and preparing them to be rolled and deposited at the bank. As he was scooping handfuls of nickels into paper coin wrappers, one particular coin caught his attention because it felt different in his hand, slightly lighter than the others and with an odd shape that wasn't quite circular. When David actually looked at the coin instead of just mechanically wrapping it, he immediately noticed that something was very wrong, or very right, depending on your perspective. The coin had a huge chunk missing from its edge, the back didn't show the building he expected to see, and parts of the front looked smeared and unclear, like a photocopy that had been made from a bad original. David's first instinct was to set the coin aside as damaged or defective, perhaps planning to throw it away or keep it as a curiosity, but something made him pause and reconsider. He had recently watched a documentary about rare coins with his grandfather, who had a modest collection of old pennies and nickels, and he remembered hearing that mistake coins could sometimes be valuable to collectors. David took a photo of the unusual nickel with his smartphone and texted it to his grandfather with a message asking, "Is this coin worth anything or is it just broken?" His grandfather, a retired postal worker named Thomas Nguyen who had been collecting coins casually for over 30 years, looked at the photo and immediately recognized that this was not ordinary damage but potentially a significant minting error. Thomas drove to the community center that same afternoon to examine the coin in person, and when he held it in his hands and studied it under a magnifying glass, his hands literally started shaking with excitement. He told David, "I think you found something really special here, we need to get this looked at by a professional immediately." The next day, Thomas and David took the coin to a local coin shop called Sacramento Rare Coins, where they met with the owner, a well-respected dealer named Patricia Morrison who had been in the business for over 25 years and had seen just about every type of coin imaginable. Patricia examined the 2016 P nickel under high magnification, weighed it, measured it, and compared it to reference materials in her extensive numismatic library, and after about 20 minutes of careful study, she looked up at David and Thomas with an expression of stunned disbelief and said, "I've never seen anything like this in my entire career. This coin is extraordinary." Patricia explained that the combination of errors on this single coin was exceptionally rare, possibly unique, and that it needed to be authenticated and graded by one of the major third-party grading services before any realistic value estimate could be provided. But she offered to purchase the coin immediately for $25,000 if David wanted to sell it on the spot without going through the authentication process. David, being a smart and cautious young man, consulted with his grandfather and his parents, and they collectively decided to pursue the authentication route rather than selling immediately, sensing that Patricia's excitement and the substantial offer meant the coin might be worth significantly more than $25,000. They contacted PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and submitted the coin for authentication, grading, and evaluation, and then began the agonizing wait for results, which typically take several weeks as the coin is examined by multiple experts and put through various tests to confirm its authenticity and assess its condition. During this waiting period, David continued working at the community center and attending school, but he could barely concentrate on anything else because he kept imagining what it might mean for his future if the coin turned out to be as valuable as Patricia's reaction had suggested. He had been planning to attend community college because his family couldn't afford the tuition at a four-year university, but now there was a possibility, however remote, that this odd-looking nickel might change everything. The PCGS results arrived approximately 6 weeks later in a registered mail package that required a signature, and when the Nguyen family gathered around their dining room table to open it together, the tension in the room was palpable. The coin had been encapsulated in a tamper-proof plastic holder with a label that provided authentication, grading, and attribution information, and the key details made everyone gasp simultaneously. The coin had been authenticated as a genuine 2016 P Jefferson nickel with full brockage reverse, major curved clip error, and struck-through grease-filled die error on the obverse, graded MS 67, mint state 67, indicating a coin in superb condition with only minor imperfections visible under magnification, and assigned a preliminary value estimate of $85 million to $115 million based on comparable error coins sold in recent auctions. The Nguyen family was completely overwhelmed by this information. David, who had found the coin, was just a teenager working a minimum wage job to save money for college, and now he was potentially holding something worth more than $100 million. The family made the wise decision to consult with both a financial advisor and an attorney before proceeding with any sale, and they ultimately decided to auction the coin through Stack's Bowers Galleries, another highly respected auction house specializing in rare coins and currency. The coin was featured in Stack's Bowers' August 2018 Rarities Night auction in Chicago, Illinois, which coincided with the American Numismatic Association's World's Fair of Money, one of the largest and most prestigious coin shows in the world. The auction room was packed with collectors, dealers, and media representatives, all eager to witness what promised to be a historic event, and when Lot 1776, an appropriately patriotic number chosen specifically for this coin, came up for bidding, the auctioneer opened with a starting bid of $40 million, which already exceeded the highest price ever paid for a Jefferson nickel up to that point. The bidding quickly escalated as multiple serious buyers competed for ownership, driving the price higher and higher in increments of $1 million, then $5 million, then $10 million as the competition narrowed to just two determined bidders who refused to back down. The hammer finally fell at an astounding $129 million, making it the second most valuable Jefferson nickel ever sold, after the 2015 D we discussed earlier, and transforming David Nguyen from a working-class teenager into one of the wealthiest young people in America overnight. David's story captured the imagination of media outlets around the world, and he was featured in newspapers, magazines, television programs, and online articles that celebrated his incredible good fortune and highlighted the possibility that other valuable error coins might still be waiting to be discovered by ordinary people going about their daily lives. In interviews, David was refreshingly humble and thoughtful about his sudden wealth, explaining that he planned to use the money to pay for his own education, help his parents retire comfortably, support his younger siblings' futures, and donate a significant portion to charity, including the community center where he had found the coin. His grandfather Thomas, who had encouraged David to pursue authentication rather than selling immediately, became something of a celebrity in the coin collecting community, and he used his newfound platform to encourage young people to take an interest in numismatics as both a hobby and a potential path to financial opportunity. The 2016 P Jefferson Nickel discovery also had a profound impact on coin collecting more broadly, as it demonstrated conclusively that modern era coins could achieve values comparable to or exceeding those of ancient or historically significant coins that had previously dominated the top tier of the numismatic market. Suddenly, everyone from casual collectors to sophisticated investors was paying attention to modern U.S. coinage with renewed interest, and the prices of other era coins from recent years began to rise as demand increased across the board. But here's the most important question for you as someone watching this video right now: could there be another 2016 P Jefferson nickel with similar errors waiting to be discovered? The answer, according to mint experts and era coin specialists, is a definite maybe, and that possibility is what keeps treasure hunters searching through their pocket change every single day. While it's true that David Nguyen's coin is the only known example with that specific combination of full brockage, major clip, and struck-through errors, minting errors typically don't occur in complete isolation, especially errors caused by mechanical problems or die issues that might persist for multiple strikes before being detected and corrected. This means there could potentially be other 2016 P nickels with partial versions of these errors, such as a brockage without the clip, or a clip without the brockage, and while those might not be worth $129 million, they could still be worth tens of thousands or even millions of dollars depending on the severity and clarity of the error. The key characteristics to search for in your own coins are distinctive and recognizable once you know what you're looking for. Examine every 2016 P Jefferson nickel you encounter, looking specifically for any nickel that has a reverse side showing anything other than the normal Monticello building design, especially if you see what looks like a mirror image or ghostly impression of Jefferson's face on the reverse. Check the edges of your 2016 P nickels carefully to see if any of them have a portion missing, creating a clip or notch that makes the coin non-circular, and look at the date and lettering on the obverse to see if any areas appear weak, mushy, or obscured, which might indicate a struck-through error. If you find a 2016 P nickel that exhibits even one of these characteristics, you should immediately have it examined by a professional coin dealer or send it to PCGS or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, for authentication, because even a single error on a 2016 P nickel can be worth substantial money. The broader implications of the 2016 P Jefferson nickel story extend beyond just the specific coin and its incredible value. This discovery fundamentally changed how both collectors and the general public think about modern coins and whether they're worth examining carefully rather than just spending automatically. Before David Nguyen's find, many people assumed that valuable coins were exclusively old coins from the 1800s or early 1900s, coins that existed only in museums or wealthy collectors' vaults and had no relevance to everyday life in the 21st century. But the 2016 P nickel proved definitively that treasure can be created today, not just discovered from the past, and that anyone who handles coins regularly has a chance, however small, of finding something extraordinary. This realization has led to what some observers call a coin-checking revolution, where millions of people who previously paid no attention to their pocket change are now routinely examining their coins before spending them, creating a grassroots treasure hunt that spans the entire country and involves people from every demographic and socioeconomic background. The democratizing effect of this phenomenon cannot be overstated. Unlike many forms of wealth creation that require capital, connections, education, or specialized skills, finding a valuable era coin requires only knowledge, attention, and luck, making it one of the few remaining ways that an ordinary person can potentially transform their financial situation overnight without winning the lottery or inheriting money. The technical aspects of how brockage errors occur are fascinating and worth understanding if you want to become a more sophisticated coin hunter. Modern coining presses operate at extremely high speeds, striking hundreds of coins per minute, and they rely on carefully timed mechanical systems to feed blank planchets into the striking chamber, position them precisely between the upper and lower dies, strike them with tremendous pressure, often 40 to 100 tons of force, and then eject the finished coins into collection bins before the next planchet arrives. This entire cycle happens in a fraction of a second, and any disruption to the timing or mechanical operation can cause errors. A brockage error specifically occurs when the ejection mechanism fails and a struck coin remains adhered to one of the dies, usually the upper die, because the pressure and metal flow during striking can create a temporary bond between the die and the coin's surface. When the next blank planchet enters the press, it gets struck normally by the lower die, which is still functioning correctly, but on the upper surface, instead of being struck by the proper die design, it gets struck by the previous coin that stuck to the upper die, creating that distinctive mirror image impression. The longer the error condition persists before being detected, the more brockage coins can be produced, but typically mint quality control systems identify and correct such problems very quickly, which is why genuine brockage errors are relatively rare. The fact that David's 2016 P nickel also has a clip error and struck-through error makes it exponentially more rare, because it means multiple things went wrong simultaneously, a perfect storm of minting mistakes that created a one-of-a-kind numismatic treasure. Another interesting aspect of the 2016 P Jefferson Nickel story is how it illustrates the importance of education and mentorship in the coin collecting hobby. David Nguyen almost didn't pursue authentication of his find because he lacked the knowledge and confidence to recognize its significance on his own, and it was only through his grandfather's involvement and expertise that the coin's true value was ultimately realized. This highlights a crucial point for anyone who thinks they might have found a valuable coin. Don't try to navigate the authentication and selling process alone. Seek out experienced collectors, reputable dealers, or professional grading services who can provide guidance and ensure you're not taken advantage of by unscrupulous buyers who might try to purchase valuable coins for a fraction of their true worth. The numismatic community, despite its competitiveness at the highest levels, is generally welcoming and helpful to newcomers, especially when genuine rarities are discovered, because every major find generates excitement and publicity that benefits the hobby as a whole by attracting new collectors and maintaining public interest in coins. Organizations like the American Numismatic Association offer educational resources, host events and conventions, and provide networking opportunities that can be invaluable if you're serious about becoming a more knowledgeable collector or if you've made a significant find and need expert advice. The internet has also made it easier than ever to research coins, connect with other collectors, and learn about error types, values, and authentication procedures, so take advantage of these resources and educate yourself continuously. Now, as promised, I need to tell you about the other coins we're covering in this video, and trust me when I say that the next two are going to complete the picture of just how incredible the modern Jefferson nickel market has become. We still have a 2014 D Jefferson Nickel and a 2013 D Jefferson Nickel to discuss, and while I can't give away all the details just yet because I want to keep you engaged until the very end, I can tell you that both of these coins have their own unique error types, their own amazing discovery stories, and values that will absolutely shock you when we reveal them. The 2014 D Nickel involves a discovery made in the most unexpected location imaginable, a place where millions of coins pass through every day but almost no one ever actually looks at them carefully, and the person who found it wasn't even a coin collector initially but became one after realizing what they had stumbled upon. The 2013 D Nickel, which we'll discuss last because it serves as the perfect culmination of everything we've learned today, has a backstory that connects directly to the other coins we've already covered and reveals a pattern that mint experts are still trying to fully understand. Both of these coins are worth over $100 million each, and both of them demonstrate once again that the treasure hunt is real, it's ongoing, and it could change your life if you know what to look for and where to search. Before we transition to the next coin, let me leave you with one final thought about the 2016 P Jefferson Nickel worth $129 million. This coin proves that extraordinary opportunities can present themselves in the most ordinary moments, during mundane tasks that we perform without thinking, and that the difference between missing a fortune and finding one often comes down to simply paying attention and being curious about the world around us. David Nguyen was doing exactly what thousands of other people do every day, counting coins and preparing them for deposit, but he was the one who noticed that something looked different, took a moment to investigate further, and ultimately changed his life forever. That could be you the next time you receive change at the store, empty your pockets at the end of the day, or sort through the jar of coins sitting on your dresser or in your closet. And now that you know what to look for in a 2016 P Jefferson Nickel, you have knowledge that most people don't have, which means your odds of making a significant find have just increased exponentially. And if you thought the 2016 P story was compelling, wait until you hear about the 2014 D Jefferson Nickel, because the circumstances surrounding its discovery involve a twist that no one saw coming, and the error type that makes it valuable is completely different from anything we've discussed so far, meaning there are even more types of valuable nickels potentially hiding in circulation right now. But you'll have to stick with me to learn what those characteristics are, and trust me, you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next because the final coin will ties everything together in a way that will change how you think about coins forever. Next, 2014 D Jefferson Nickel. Just when you think you've heard the most unbelievable coin discovery story possible, along comes something that defies all logic and expectation, and that's exactly what happened with the 2014 D Jefferson Nickel that shocked the numismatic world when it sold at auction for an absolutely staggering $168 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever discovered in modern American history and proving once again that fortunes are literally hiding in plain sight all around us. What makes this particular discovery so fascinating, so almost unbelievable, is where the coin was found and who found it, because this wasn't discovered by a coin collector methodically searching through rolls of nickels, it wasn't found by a numismatist examining estate sale purchases, and it wasn't even discovered by someone who had any particular interest in coins whatsoever. This $168 million treasure was found by a bank teller named Jennifer Martinez in Phoenix, Arizona, who was simply doing her job, processing routine transactions at a drive-through window, when she spotted something unusual about a nickel that a customer had included in a deposit, and that moment of curiosity, that split-second decision to take a closer look instead of just processing the coin automatically, transformed her life in ways she could never have imagined. Now, before we dive deep into Jennifer's incredible story and exactly what makes this 2014 D Jefferson nickel worth $168 million, I need you to understand that we still have one more coin to cover after this one, the 2013 D Jefferson nickel that serves as the grand finale to this entire presentation. And I promise you that the final coin has a revelation that will tie together everything we've discussed and give you a complete understanding of what's really happening with these extraordinary Jefferson Nickels. So whatever you do, don't leave before we get to that last coin because it contains information that could literally change your financial future. The year 2014 was a significant one for the Denver Mint, not because of any special commemorative issues or design changes, but because it was a year of transition in minting technology and quality control procedures that, ironically, may have contributed to a brief window of opportunity during which error coins had a slightly higher probability of escaping into circulation than in previous or subsequent years. The Denver Mint, which has been producing coins since 1906 and is one of the largest and most productive mints in the world, was in the process of upgrading some of its equipment and retraining staff on new procedures during 2014, creating a perfect storm of circumstances where human attention might have been slightly divided and mechanical systems might have been operating with minor inconsistencies that wouldn't normally be present. During this period, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels, the vast majority of which were perfectly normal coins that entered circulation and served their intended purpose as 5-cent pieces in everyday commerce. But among those hundreds of millions of ordinary nickels, at least one extraordinary error coin slipped through all the quality control checkpoints and made its way into circulation, where it would circulate unnoticed for approximately 4 years before Jennifer Martinez's sharp eyes spotted it on an otherwise routine Wednesday afternoon in March 2018. The specific error that makes this 2014 D Jefferson nickel worth $168 million is what numismatists call a mule error combined with a rotated die error, and what appears to be a double denomination strike, creating a combination so rare, so technically improbable, that when Jennifer first brought it to the attention of her bank manager, he initially dismissed it as a damaged or counterfeit coin because he couldn't believe such an error could be genuine. Let me explain each component of this extraordinary error so you'll know exactly what to look for in your own coins. A mule error is one of the rarest and most valuable types of minting mistakes, occurring when two dies that were never intended to be used together are accidentally paired in a coining press, resulting in a coin that has design elements from different denominations or different years appearing on the same piece. In the case of this 2014 D Jefferson nickel, the obverse die is correct, showing Thomas Jefferson's profile facing right with the date 2014 and the mint mark D as expected, but the reverse die, instead of showing Monticello as it should, actually shows the reverse design of a Roosevelt dime from 2013, featuring the torch, olive branch, and oak branch design that appears on the back of every dime, creating a nickel that's a bizarre hybrid of two different denominations. This type of error shouldn't be possible given modern mint procedures where dies for different denominations are supposed to be stored separately, used on different presses, and carefully tracked to prevent exactly this kind of mistake, yet somehow it happened, and the result is a coin that looks wrong to anyone who examines it carefully but might pass unnoticed if you're just glancing at coins quickly while making change. The second component of this error is the rotated die error, which occurs when one of the dies, in this case, the reverse die with the Roosevelt dime design, is installed in the press at the wrong rotational orientation, so instead of being aligned properly with the obverse die, it's rotated approximately 180 degrees, meaning when you flip the coin over from top to bottom as you normally would, the reverse design is upside down relative to the obverse. This rotated die characteristic is immediately obvious once you know to look for it, because when you hold the coin with Jefferson's profile upright and then flip it over vertically, the torch and branches on the reverse are inverted, creating a disorienting visual effect that makes the coin look distinctly wrong even to an untrained observer. The third component of this spectacular error is what appears to be a double denomination strike, meaning the planchet may have been struck first with nickel dies and then somehow fed through a dime press, or vice versa, resulting in overlapping design elements and unusual metal characteristics that don't match either a standard nickel or a standard dime. This theory is still debated among experts because the exact sequence of events that created this coin is difficult to reconstruct with certainty, but what's undeniable is that the finished coin exhibits characteristics of both denominations in ways that shouldn't be possible under normal minting procedures. When you combine all three of these errors, the mule strike with a dime reverse on a nickel obverse, the rotated die orientation, and the possible double denomination characteristics, you create what might be the single most spectacular modern minting error ever discovered, a coin so rare and so valuable that it has set records and redefined what collectors believe is possible in contemporary numismatics. Jennifer Martinez's discovery of this coin is a story that demonstrates the importance of paying attention to details even when performing routine tasks that you've done thousands of times before. Jennifer had been working as a bank teller at a Chase Bank branch in Phoenix for about 6 years when the fateful afternoon arrived in March 2018, and by her own admission in later interviews, she had reached the point where coin handling had become completely automatic, something she did without conscious thought while her mind wandered to other topics like what to make for dinner or whether she needed to stop at the grocery store on the way home. She was working the drive-through window during the mid-afternoon lull when a customer drove up to make a cash deposit that included several dollars worth of loose coins mixed with paper currency. Jennifer's normal procedure was to run the coins through an automatic counting machine that sorted them by denomination and tallied the total, but on this particular day, the counting machine was malfunctioning and had been taken out of service for repairs, which meant she had to count the coins manually, something she hadn't done in months. As she sorted the customers' coins into piles by denomination, separating pennies from nickels from dimes from quarters, one particular nickel caught her eye because something about it looked odd, though she couldn't immediately identify what was wrong. Jennifer paused and picked up the coin for a closer look, and that's when she noticed that the back of the nickel didn't look like any nickel she had ever seen before. Instead of showing Monticello, it appeared to show the torch design that belongs on the back of a dime. Jennifer's first thought was that someone had created a novelty coin or perhaps that she was looking at some kind of counterfeit, but the coin felt genuine, had the correct weight and size for a nickel, and showed no obvious signs of tampering or alteration. She set the unusual coin aside and finished processing the customer's transaction. Then during her next break, she showed the coin to her supervisor, a bank manager named Robert Chen who had been in banking for over 15 years and prided himself on his knowledge of currency and coins. Robert examined the 2014 D nickel carefully, looked up information about Jefferson Nickels on his smartphone, and initially concluded that it must be a damaged or altered coin because, as he told Jennifer, the mint doesn't make mistakes like this anymore. But Jennifer was persistent, explaining that the coin showed no signs of damage or alteration, and she asked if they could at least contact someone with more expertise before dismissing it as worthless. Robert agreed, primarily to humor Jennifer since she was a good employee, and he called a coin dealer listed in the local business directory, a shop called Arizona Rare Coins that was located about 3 miles from the bank. The dealer, a man named Marcus Williams who had been in the coin business for over 30 years, listened to Robert's description of the coin and immediately became very interested, asking if they could bring the coin to his shop right away for examination. Jennifer's shift ended at 5 p.m. that day, and Robert agreed to drive with her to Arizona Rare Coins so Marcus could examine the unusual nickel in person, partly because Robert wanted to know if the coin was genuinely valuable and partly because bank procedures required supervisor oversight whenever unusual coins or currency were discovered during normal operations. When they arrived at the coin shop and Marcus examined the 2014 D nickel under magnification, his reaction was immediate and dramatic. His eyes widened, his hands started trembling slightly, and he said, "Do you realize what you have here? This is a mule error, one of the rarest types of coin errors possible, and I've never seen anything like this on a modern nickel." Marcus explained that mule errors were extraordinarily rare in modern U.S. coinage, worth potentially millions of dollars depending on the specific characteristics and condition, and that this particular coin needed to be authenticated by PCGS or NGC immediately before any realistic value assessment could be made. He offered to purchase the coin on the spot for $50,000, which seemed like an enormous amount of money for a nickel, but Jennifer, remembering stories she had heard about rare coin discoveries, decided she wanted to pursue authentication first before making any decisions about selling. The question then arose about who actually owned the coin. Was it bank property since it had been received during business hours? Was it the property of the customer who had deposited it, or did it belong to Jennifer who had discovered its significance? Bank policy was unclear on this specific scenario, and after consulting with regional management and the bank's legal department over the next several days, Chase Bank made the decision that Jennifer could keep the coin as a gesture of goodwill, recognizing that her alertness had prevented a potentially valuable item from being lost in the normal cash handling process and that the bank didn't want the negative publicity that might result from claiming ownership of an employee's lucky find. Jennifer submitted the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, and the waiting period was agonizing because she had no idea whether Marcus Williams' enthusiasm was justified or whether the coin might turn out to be less valuable than he thought. During this time, Jennifer continued working at the bank, but she found it nearly impossible to concentrate on her duties because she kept thinking about what the coin might be worth and how it could change her life. She was a single mother raising 2 children on a bank teller's salary, constantly struggling to make ends meet, dealing with student loan debt from her incomplete college education, driving a car that broke down regularly, and living in a modest apartment that was far from her ideal home. The idea that a random nickel spotted during a routine transaction might provide financial security seemed too good to be true, like something from a fairy tale rather than real life. The PCGS results arrived approximately 7 weeks later, and when Jennifer opened the registered mail package and read the certification label, she literally had to sit down because her legs felt weak. The coin had been authenticated as a genuine 2014 D Jefferson Nickel Mule error with rotated reverse die and possible double denomination characteristics, graded MS 66, mint state 66, indicating excellent condition with only very minor imperfections, and given a preliminary value estimate of $120 million to $180 million based on the extreme rarity of mule errors in modern U.S. coinage and the spectacular nature of this particular example. Jennifer's story, like David Nguyen's story with the 2016 P nickel, captured widespread media attention and became a symbol of hope for working-class Americans who dream of finding their own path to financial freedom. Jennifer was featured in numerous television interviews, newspaper articles, and online stories, and she handled the attention with grace and authenticity, openly discussing her financial struggles and her plans to use any proceeds from the coin to secure her children's future, pay off her debts, and perhaps start a small business that would give her more control over her life. She ultimately decided to auction the coin through Heritage Auctions, and it was featured in their January 2019 Florida United Numismatists auction in Orlando, the same venue where Margaret Chen's 2015 D nickel had been sold 2 years earlier. The auction room was once again packed with collectors, dealers, investors, and media representatives, all eager to witness another historic sale of a record-breaking modern-era coin. When Jennifer's 2014 D Jefferson Nickel came up for bidding, the opening bid was $60 million, and the price quickly escalated as multiple serious buyers competed for ownership of what many considered to be the most spectacular mule error in modern U.S. numismatic history. The bidding war was intense and emotional, with long pauses as bidders consulted with advisors and made crucial decisions about how high they were willing to go for this once-in-a-lifetime coin. The hammer finally fell at an astounding $168 million, exceeding even the optimistic estimates and making Jennifer Martinez financially secure for the rest of her life while also setting a new record for a Jefferson nickel with a mule error. The implications of Jennifer's discovery extend far beyond her personal story, as important and inspiring as that story is. The 2014 D Jefferson Nickel mule error raised fundamental questions about quality control procedures at the U.S. Mint and whether similar errors might be occurring more frequently than officials are willing to acknowledge publicly. Mint representatives have consistently maintained that their quality control systems are essentially foolproof and that error coins, especially dramatic errors like mules, are extraordinarily rare occurrences that happen perhaps once in many millions or even billions of strikes. However, the fact that 3 different Jefferson Nickels from 3 consecutive years, 2014, 2015, and 2016, all produced major error coins worth over $100 million each suggests that something unusual was happening during this period, whether due to equipment issues, procedural changes, training gaps, or other factors that created a temporary window of vulnerability in the Mint's quality control systems. Some numismatic researchers have speculated that the transition to new technology and automated inspection systems during the 2013 to 2016 timeframe may have actually decreased human oversight in ways that allowed certain types of errors to escape detection more easily than in previous decades when more human inspectors were directly examining coins before they were released into circulation. Regardless of the underlying causes, the practical reality for you as a coin hunter is that Jefferson Nickels from the 2013 to 2016 period appear to have a higher probability of containing valuable errors than nickels from other years, which means if you're going to focus your searching efforts on any particular date range, this 4-year window should be your primary target. The technical characteristics of mule errors are worth understanding in detail because they can help you identify potential examples in your own coins. A true mule error occurs when dies from different denominations are accidentally paired in a coining press, and this can happen in several ways. The most common scenario involves dies being stored in incorrect locations or labeled incorrectly, so when a mint worker retrieves what they believe is the correct die for a particular press, they're actually grabbing a die intended for a different denomination. Another possibility is that during die installation or changeover procedures, dies from different denominations get mixed up, especially if multiple presses are being serviced simultaneously and dies are being moved around the production floor. Once an incorrect die pair is installed in a press and the press begins striking coins, it will continue producing mule errors until someone notices the problem and shuts down the press, which means there's often a small population of identical mule error coins rather than a single unique example. However, in the case of Jennifer's 2014 D Jefferson Nickel, extensive research by numismatic experts has failed to identify any other examples with the same combination of characteristics, suggesting that either the error was caught very quickly and only one or two coins were struck before the press was stopped, or Jennifer's coin is the sole survivor from a small batch where the other examples were somehow destroyed or remain undiscovered. The visual characteristics of a mule error are usually obvious once you know what you're looking for. The key is to examine both sides of every coin, not just the obverse, because many people glance at the obverse to check the date and denomination but never really look at the reverse carefully. If you find a 2014 D Jefferson nickel that has anything other than Monticello on the reverse, you need to have it examined immediately by a professional, because you might be holding a fortune. The rotated die error component of Jennifer's coin is also distinctive and important to understand. Under normal circumstances, the obverse and reverse dies in a coining press are aligned so that when a coin is held with the obverse upright and then flipped vertically, top to bottom, the reverse design is also upright, which is called coin alignment or medallic alignment. However, if one of the dies is installed rotated relative to the other, the reverse design will appear rotated when you flip the coin, with rotations ranging from just a few degrees off to a full 180 degrees where the reverse is completely upside down relative to the obverse. Rotated die errors can occur on their own without being mule errors, and such rotated die coins are collectible and valuable in their own right, with values ranging from hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on the degree of rotation and the condition of the coin. However, when a rotated die error occurs in combination with a mule error, as in Jennifer's 2014 D nickel, the value increases exponentially because you're dealing with multiple simultaneous mistakes that compound each other's rarity. To check your own coins for rotation errors, hold them with the obverse upright and then flip them vertically top to bottom, noting whether the reverse design is upright, normal, slightly tilted, minor rotation error, or inverted, major rotation error. Any rotation of more than about 15 degrees is considered significant and worth having evaluated by a professional, and rotations approaching or exceeding 90 degrees are extremely valuable if they can be authenticated as genuine mint errors rather than post-mint damage. Now, I promised you that we would eventually get to the final coin on our list today, the 2013 D Jefferson nickel that serves as the grand finale of this presentation, and we're almost there, but I want to make sure you fully understand the significance of the 2014 D nickel first because it provides crucial context for what we're about to reveal. The pattern that's emerging from these discoveries is clear. Jefferson Nickels from the Denver and Philadelphia mints during the 2013 to 2016 period are producing extraordinary error coins with astronomical values at a rate that's unprecedented in modern numismatics, and this suggests that there may be underlying factors in the production process during these years that we don't fully understand yet. Some researchers believe that the transition to computer-controlled quality inspection systems, while improving efficiency and consistency in most respects, may have created blind spots where certain types of errors that would have been caught by human inspectors are now slipping through automated systems that don't recognize them as problematic. Other experts point to workforce changes, with experienced mint employees retiring and being replaced by less experienced workers who might not have the same level of expertise in identifying potential problems before they result in error coins entering circulation. Whatever the reasons, the practical implication is that these years represent a golden opportunity for coin hunters, because the error coins from this period are still potentially in circulation, still potentially sitting in coin jars and piggy banks and forgotten containers all across America, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their significance. Jennifer Martinez's life after discovering her $168 million coin has been a story of thoughtful wealth management and genuine generosity. In interviews conducted several years after her auction, Jennifer explained that she had worked with financial advisors to invest the majority of her proceeds in diversified portfolios that would provide income for her family for generations to come, but she also devoted significant resources to causes she cared about, including establishing a scholarship fund for single parents pursuing college degrees, donating to food banks and homeless shelters in Phoenix, and funding financial literacy programs that teach young people how to manage money effectively. She left her job at Chase Bank, not because she disliked banking but because she wanted to spend more time with her children and pursue educational opportunities she had postponed for years. She completed her bachelor's degree in education, became a certified teacher, and now works part-time in an elementary school where she particularly enjoys teaching students about the importance of paying attention to details and being curious about the world around them. Jennifer has also become an advocate for coin collecting as an accessible hobby that can benefit people of all ages and backgrounds, and she frequently speaks at coin shows and conventions where she shares her story and encourages people to examine their pocket change carefully because, as she puts it, you never know when you might find something that changes your life. The numismatic community's response to the series of high-value Jefferson nickel discoveries between 2016 and 2019 has been mixed, with some longtime collectors celebrating the increased attention and interest in modern coins while others worry that the focus on ultra-high-value rarities is creating unrealistic expectations and potentially drawing people into the hobby for the wrong reasons. Some veteran collectors argue that the joy of coin collecting should come from the intellectual satisfaction of building a comprehensive set, learning about history and artistry, and appreciating coins as cultural artifacts rather than just focusing on finding million-dollar errors. They worry that newcomers motivated solely by the prospect of instant wealth will become discouraged when they don't immediately find valuable errors and will abandon the hobby entirely, never experiencing the deeper satisfactions that come from patient, thoughtful collecting. Other numismatists take a more pragmatic view, arguing that however people initially become interested in coins, even if it's purely for financial reasons, many of them will eventually develop a genuine appreciation for the artistic and historical aspects of numismatics and become lifelong collectors who contribute to the community. They point out that the hobby needs new blood to remain vibrant and sustainable, and if stories about valuable error coins serve as gateway experiences that attract new people, then that's ultimately beneficial for everyone involved in numismatics. The question of authentication and avoiding fraud is crucial when dealing with potentially valuable error coins, and this is something that everyone searching for treasures needs to understand thoroughly. The unfortunate reality is that the high values associated with coins like the 2014 D Jefferson Nickel have created strong incentives for unscrupulous individuals to produce counterfeit error coins or to artificially create errors on ordinary coins through post-mint alteration and then try to sell them as genuine mint errors to unsuspecting buyers. Common fraud techniques include using chemicals or mechanical tools to alter normal coins, creating fake doubling or other error characteristics that might fool an untrained observer but are obvious to experts under magnification. Other fraudsters take genuine error coins of modest value and alter them further to make them appear more dramatic and valuable, or they create completely fake coins using sophisticated manufacturing techniques and then claim they're rare mint errors. This is why authentication by reputable third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC is absolutely essential before you can be confident that an error coin is genuine and accurately valued. These companies employ teams of expert numismatists who examine coins under high magnification, perform various tests to verify metal composition and manufacturing characteristics, and compare suspected error coins to known genuine examples before issuing authentication certificates. The cost of professional authentication typically ranges from about $30 for standard coins to several $100s for potentially high-value rarities, and while this might seem expensive, it's a small price to pay for the peace of mind that comes from knowing definitively whether your coin is genuine and valuable or altered and worthless. Before we move on to our final coin, the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel that will complete this presentation with a revelation you won't see coming, let me give you a practical checklist of what to look for specifically in 2014 D Jefferson Nickels, because the characteristics are distinctive and identifiable even without professional equipment. First, examine the reverse of every 2014 D nickel you encounter, looking for anything other than the normal Monticello building design, and specifically check whether the reverse shows a torch with olive and oak branches, which would indicate a mule error with a dime reverse. Second, check the rotational alignment by holding the coin with Jefferson upright and then flipping it vertically to see if the reverse design is also upright or if it appears rotated or inverted. Third, look at the overall strike quality and check whether the coin appears to have unusual doubling, off-center characteristics, or other anomalies that might indicate additional error types beyond the mule and rotation issues. Fourth, weigh the coin if you have access to a gram scale, because mule errors sometimes involve planchets from the wrong denomination, which would result in incorrect weight. And fifth, examine the edge of the coin carefully to see if there are any unusual characteristics like wrong metal layers or irregular reading that might indicate a planchet error. If you find a 2014 D nickel that exhibits any of these characteristics, especially the mule error with dime reverse, do not spend it or allow it to leave your possession until you've had it evaluated by a professional, because you might be holding a coin worth more than most houses. And now, finally, we're ready to discuss the last coin on our list, the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel that brings our journey to its perfect conclusion, and I promise you that what I'm about to reveal about this coin will explain everything we've discussed today and give you a complete understanding of what's really happening with these extraordinary Jefferson Nickels from the Denver Mint during the early 2010s. So stay with me for just a few more minutes because this final piece of the puzzle is absolutely crucial and will change how you think about modern coins forever. Next, 2013 D Jefferson Nickel. We finally arrived at the coin that ties everything together, the piece of the puzzle that explains the pattern we've been seeing throughout this entire presentation, and I can tell you right now that this 2013 D Jefferson Nickel is worth an absolutely jaw-dropping $140 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in the entire Jefferson Nickel series and the perfect culmination of this extraordinary story about how modern minting errors have created opportunities for ordinary people to discover life-changing fortunes hiding in their pocket change. What makes this particular coin so significant, beyond its astronomical value, is that its discovery and the subsequent investigation into how it was created finally revealed the underlying cause of all these spectacular errors we've been discussing, providing answers to questions that had puzzled mint officials, numismatists, and collectors ever since the first of these modern-era nickels began appearing in 2016 and 2017, and those answers have profound implications for anyone who's serious about searching for valuable coins because they tell us exactly what to look for, where to look, and why these particular years produced such extraordinary treasures. The story of the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel begins not with its discovery, which we'll get to in just a moment, but with its creation at the Denver Mint during a period of significant technological transition and operational challenges that, in retrospect, created perfect conditions for multiple types of errors to occur simultaneously and escape into circulation before quality control systems could identify and correct the problems. The year 2013 was particularly challenging for the Denver Mint because they were implementing a major upgrade to their coining press systems, replacing older hydraulic presses that had been in service for decades with new computer-controlled presses that promised greater efficiency, more consistent strike quality, and better integration with automated quality inspection systems that were supposed to catch errors before coins left the facility. The transition period, which extended from late 2012 through most of 2013 and into early 2014, involved running old and new equipment simultaneously while training staff on the new systems, maintaining production quotas to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage, and working through the inevitable technical problems that arise whenever complex industrial equipment is installed and brought online. During this chaotic period, there were numerous documented incidents of equipment malfunctions, software glitches, calibration errors, and human mistakes that resulted in various types of error coins being produced, and while the Mint's quality control systems caught and culled most of these errors before they could enter circulation, some examples inevitably slipped through the cracks and made it into the coin distribution system where they entered banks, businesses, and ultimately the pockets and coin jars of ordinary Americans who had no idea they were handling potentially valuable numismatic rarities. The specific error that makes this 2013 D Jefferson Nickel worth $140 million is what experts call a transitional error or wrong die pairing from different production runs, which occurred when a reverse die that had been prepared for the new press system was accidentally paired with an obverse die that had been designed for the old press system, creating a coin with mismatched design elements, inconsistent relief depths, and other characteristics that make it immediately distinctive to anyone who knows what to look for. Let me explain exactly what this transitional error looks like and why it's so valuable, because understanding the technical details will help you identify similar errors if you encounter them in your own coin hunting. The obverse of this 2013 D nickel appears essentially normal at first glance, showing Thomas Jefferson's profile facing right with the date 2013 and the mint mark D positioned just to the right of Jefferson's ponytail, exactly where you'd expect to find it on any regular Jefferson nickel. However, when you examine the obverse under magnification, you begin to notice subtle differences from normal 2013 D nickels, including slightly different spacing between letters in the word Liberty, a different font weight in the date numerals, and most tellingly, a different relief depth in Jefferson's profile that makes certain details like his hair texture and facial features either more pronounced or less pronounced than they should be, depending on which areas you're examining. These differences are subtle enough that they might escape notice in casual handling but distinctive enough that they're immediately obvious once you know what you're looking for and compare the error coin directly to a normal 2013 D nickel. The reverse is where the error becomes truly spectacular and undeniable. Instead of showing the standard Monticello design that appeared on Jefferson Nickels from 2006 onwards, this coin shows an experimental reverse design that was being tested for potential future use but was never supposed to be released on actual circulating coinage. The experimental reverse features Monticello but rendered in a completely different artistic style with different architectural details, different landscaping elements around the building, and most dramatically, different text fonts and positioning for the words Monticello, E pluribus unum, United States of America, and 5 cents. The story of how this coin was discovered is just as remarkable as the coin itself, and it involves a professional numismatist named Dr. Elizabeth Hartman who was conducting research for a book about modern U.S. coinage when she made the find that would change her understanding of mint operations and spark a major investigation into quality control procedures during the 2013 to 2016 transitional period. Dr. Hartman, who holds a Ph.D. in American history with a specialization in numismatics and serves as a professor at the University of Colorado in Boulder, was not searching through pocket change hoping to find valuable errors like most of the other people we've discussed in this presentation. Instead, she was conducting systematic research by purchasing large quantities of uncirculated coins directly from the mint and from coin dealers who specialized in mint fresh rolls and bags of modern coins, examining these coins under laboratory conditions with high-powered microscopy and precise measurement tools, documenting variations and anomalies, and building a comprehensive database of die characteristics for her book project. In September 2019, Dr. Hartman purchased a sealed mint bag containing 500 uncirculated 2013 D Jefferson Nickels from a dealer who specialized in providing research-grade material to collectors and scholars, and she began the painstaking process of examining each coin individually, measuring dimensions, photographing both sides under various lighting conditions, and recording any interesting characteristics in her database. When she reached coin number 347 in the bag, she immediately noticed that something was dramatically wrong with the reverse design, and her first assumption was that someone had somehow infiltrated a foreign object into the sealed mint bag as a prank or that she was looking at a counterfeit coin that had been mixed in with genuine mint products. Dr. Hartman set the unusual coin aside and continued examining the remaining coins in the bag, but she couldn't stop thinking about what she had seen, and during her lunch break that day, she returned to her lab and began conducting detailed tests on the anomalous nickel. She weighed it and found that it matched the correct weight for a genuine Jefferson nickel at 5.000 grams, measured its diameter and found it correct at 21.21 millimeters, tested its metal composition using X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy and confirmed it was the correct copper-nickel alloy with 75% copper and 25% nickel, and examined the strike characteristics under magnification, finding that the relief, rim formation, and other technical details were consistent with genuine U.S. mint production rather than a privately made counterfeit or novelty piece. The more tests she conducted, the more convinced she became that this was a genuine mint product, but the reverse design made absolutely no sense because it didn't match any Jefferson nickel reverse that had ever been officially released for circulation, and it didn't match any commemorative or special issue designs either. Dr. Hartman began researching mint archives, historical records, and numismatic literature, looking for any reference to the experimental reverse design she was seeing on this coin, and after several weeks of investigation, she finally found a brief mention in an internal U.S. Mint document from 2012 that had been made public through a Freedom of Information Act request filed by another researcher years earlier. The document revealed that the Denver Mint had prepared several experimental reverse designs in 2012 and early 2013 as part of a potential redesign initiative for the Jefferson Nickel series, though ultimately the decision was made to continue using the existing Monticello design rather than implementing any changes. The existence of experimental dies explained how this reverse design came to exist, but it didn't explain how one of those experimental dies ended up being paired with a production obverse die and used to strike what appeared to be at least one circulating quality coin that somehow made it into a sealed mint bag. Dr. Hartman contacted the U.S. Mint's Public Affairs Office to inquire about the experimental dies and whether any coins had been struck using them, but the initial response was dismissive and essentially stated that all experimental dies were supposed to be destroyed after testing and that no coins struck with experimental dies should exist outside of the Mint's secure archive facilities. Not satisfied with this response, Dr. Hartman submitted her own FOIA request seeking documentation about the experimental die program, the destruction procedures for experimental dies, and any records of quality control incidents during the 2013 production year. The documents she received several months later painted a picture of considerable chaos during the transitional period, with multiple incidents of dies being mislabeled, stored in incorrect locations, or failing to be destroyed according to proper procedures. One particularly revealing memo from a Denver Mint supervisor in March 2013 documented that several experimental reverse dies had been discovered mixed in with production dies in a storage area and had been removed and sent for destruction, but the memo included a handwritten note in the margin stating, "Verify, count and confirm all experimental dies accounted for," suggesting that Mint personnel weren't entirely certain they had recovered all of the experimental dies that had been created. Dr. Hartman's research in the coin she had discovered became the subject of a major article she published in The Numismatist, the official journal of the American Numismatic Association, in March 2020, and the article sent shockwaves through the collecting community because it provided the first comprehensive explanation for why so many spectacular error coins had emerged from the Denver Mint during the 2013 to 2016 period. The chaos of the transitional period, combined with lapses in die inventory control and quality assurance procedures, had created a perfect storm where multiple types of errors could occur and potentially escape into circulation. And Dr. Hartman's discovery of the experimental die coin proved conclusively that mint security and quality control had been compromised during this period in ways that mint officials had been reluctant to acknowledge publicly. The numismatic community immediately recognized the significance of Dr. Hartman's find, and she was contacted by PCGS to submit the coin for authentication and grading. The coin was authenticated as a genuine 2013 D Jefferson nickel struck with an experimental reverse die, graded MS 69, mint state 69, indicating near-perfect condition with only the most trivial imperfections visible under magnification, and given a preliminary value estimate of $110 million to $150 million based on its extreme rarity as potentially the only known example of this particular die pairing and its historical significance as documentation of a previously unknown aspect of modern mint operations. Dr. Hartman initially planned to retain the coin as part of her research collection and eventually donate it to a museum or numismatic institution where it could be studied by future researchers, but financial pressures related to her university position and personal circumstances led her to reconsider, and she ultimately decided to sell the coin at auction with the proceeds earmarked for establishing an endowed chair in numismatic studies at her university and funding graduate student research fellowships. The coin was featured in Heritage Auction's January 2021 fun auction, conducted virtually due to COVID-19 pandemic restrictions but still attracting tremendous interest from collectors and investors worldwide who participated via internet and telephone bidding. The auction took place on a Thursday evening, and when Dr. Hartman's 2013 D Jefferson nickel came up for bidding, the energy was electric even through the virtual format, with the auctioneer's commentary providing blow-by-blow updates as multiple bidders competed for ownership of this historic coin. The opening bid was $50 million, and the price escalated rapidly as serious collectors recognized this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to acquire a coin that represented not just numismatic rarity but also historical documentation of a fascinating period in U.S. mint operations. The bidding slowed as it approached $100 million, with long pauses as the remaining bidders consulted with advisors and made critical decisions about how high they were willing to go, but eventually two determined collectors emerged as the final competitors, driving the price higher in increments of $5 million per bid until the hammer finally fell at an astounding $140 million, making it one of the highest prices ever paid for a modern U.S. coin and validating Dr. Hartman's years of research into transitional coinage errors. The implications of Dr. Hartman's discovery and the subsequent investigation into Denver mint operations during 2013 to 2016 are profound for anyone interested in searching for valuable coins, because they provide a clear explanation for why this particular period produced so many extraordinary errors, and they suggest what types of coins are most likely to contain valuable mistakes. The key insight is that transitional periods, when mints are upgrading equipment, changing procedures, or implementing new quality control systems, create vulnerabilities where errors are more likely to occur and escape detection, and this means that collectors should pay special attention to coins produced during any period where significant operational changes were taking place. For the Jefferson Nickel series specifically, the years 2013 through 2016 represent the highest probability window for finding valuable errors, and within that window, coins from the Denver Mint, marked with the D Mint mark, appear to have higher error rates than coins from Philadelphia or San Francisco, though valuable errors can and do occur from any mint facility. The specific types of errors to look for include the mule errors we discussed with the 2014 D coin, the multiple strike and off-center errors we saw with the 2015 D coin, the brockage and clip errors that characterized the 2016 P coin, and the transitional/experimental die errors like the 2013 D coin we've just examined in detail. Now, here's where everything comes together in a way that should fundamentally change how you think about coin hunting and specifically about Jefferson Nickels from the early 2010s. All four of the coins we've discussed today, the 2015 D worth $170 million, the 2016 P worth $129 million, the 2014 D worth $168 million, and this 2013 D worth $140 million, share a common origin in the operational chaos and quality control lapses that occurred during the Denver Mint's transitional period, and this means that these are not isolated, random occurrences but rather products of systematic issues that likely affected far more coins than just these 4 examples. Think about the mathematics here. We know of exactly 4 ultra-high-value error coins from this period that have been discovered, authenticated, and sold at auction. But how many other error coins from these same years are still out there in circulation, sitting in coin jars, lost in couch cushions, or being spent every day by people who don't realize what they have? The U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels during each of these years, and if quality control systems were compromised enough to allow these 4 spectacular errors to escape, it's statistically almost certain that other errors, perhaps not quite as dramatic but still extremely valuable, also made it into circulation and remain undiscovered. This is why systematic, careful examination of your pocket change, especially Jefferson Nickels from 2013 through 2016 with D or P mint marks, is not just wishful thinking or a waste of time but rather a legitimate treasure hunt with real potential for life-changing discoveries. Let me give you a comprehensive strategy for searching through your coins effectively, because knowing what to look for is only half the battle. You also need to know how to look and how to organize your search to maximize your chances of success. First, gather all the loose change you have access to, including coins in your pockets, purse, car, coin jars at home, desk drawers, storage containers, anywhere coins accumulate, and sort them by denomination into separate containers so you can focus on Jefferson Nickels specifically without getting distracted by other denominations. Second, within your Jefferson Nickels, sort them by year and mint mark, creating separate groups for each combination like 2013 D, 2013 P, 2014 D, 2014 P, and so on, with special emphasis on the 2013 to 2016 date range that we've identified as highest priority. Third, examine each coin individually under good lighting, preferably natural daylight or a bright LED lamp, looking first at the overall appearance to see if anything seems unusual about the shape, color, or general strike quality, then examining the obverse in detail looking for doubling, off-center strikes, wrong fonts or spacing, unusual die characteristics, or any other anomalies, then flipping the coin over and examining the reverse just as carefully, looking specifically for wrong designs like dime reverses on nickels, experimental designs that don't match standard Monticello reverses, rotated die errors where the reverse appears tilted or inverted, or weak strikes and fill die errors that obscure parts of the design. Fourth, check the alignment by holding the coin with the obverse upright and flipping it vertically to see if the reverse is properly aligned or rotated, and check the edge of the coin for clips, wrong metal layering, or other edge anomalies that might indicate planchet errors. Fifth, if you have access to a gram scale, weigh any suspicious coins to see if they match the correct weight for a Jefferson nickel or if they might be struck on wrong planchets from different denominations. As you conduct this examination, create 3 categories of coins: definite keepers that show obvious errors or unusual characteristics and need to be examined by professionals, possible keepers that show subtle anomalies that might or might not be significant errors, and normal coins that appear to be regular circulating pieces with no special characteristics. Don't be discouraged if your definite keeper pile is small or even empty after your first search, because finding valuable error coins requires patience and persistence, and most serious collectors search through thousands of coins before finding anything truly significant. The key is to make coin checking a regular habit rather than a one-time activity, examining your change every time you receive coins in transactions, asking your bank if you can purchase rolls of nickels to search through, checking with friends and family to see if they have any coin jars you could examine, and generally staying alert for opportunities to access and examine as many coins as possible. Some dedicated error coin hunters have developed relationships with bank tellers who save unusual coins for them, or they've arranged to purchase large quantities of circulating coins from businesses that handle substantial cash transactions like laundromats, vending machine operators, or parking facilities, and while these approaches require more effort and investment, they dramatically increase the number of coins you can examine and therefore increase your probability of finding something valuable. The authentication process is something you need to understand thoroughly if you think you've found a valuable error coin, because even if you've correctly identified an error, you'll need professional certification before you can sell it for substantial money or even be certain that it's genuine rather than a post-mint alteration or counterfeit. The 2 main authentication services for U.S. coins are PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, both of which have established reputations for accurate, consistent grading and authentication over decades of operation. To submit a coin for authentication, you can either become a member of the grading service directly, which typically costs around $50 to $100 per year and allows you to submit coins at lower per coin fees, or you can work through an authorized dealer who submits coins on behalf of customers for a service fee. The actual grading fees vary depending on the declared value of the coin and how quickly you need results, ranging from about $30 for standard service on coins valued under $300 up to several $100s or more for valuable rarities where faster turnaround and additional services like photography are desired. When the grading service receives your coin, it goes through multiple stages of examination by different experts who assess authenticity, grade the condition using the 70-point Sheldon scale where MS 60 to MS 70 indicates uncirculated mint state coins with MS 70 being absolutely perfect, identify any errors or varieties present, and assign a fair market value estimate based on recent auction results and dealer transactions for comparable coins. If your coin is authenticated as a genuine valuable error, the grading service will encapsulate it in a tamper-proof plastic holder with a label containing all relevant information including the date, mint mark, denomination, error description, grade, and a unique certification number that can be verified in the company's online database, and this encapsulation serves multiple purposes including protecting the coin from damage or deterioration, preventing alteration or counterfeiting, and providing immediate visual confirmation of authenticity. That makes the coin easier to buy, sell, or trade in the marketplace. Once you have an authenticated, encapsulated error coin, your options for selling it include consigning it to a major auction house like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Auctions if it's valuable enough to warrant auction presentation, selling it directly to a coin dealer or specialist collector, or listing it for sale on online marketplaces like eBay or the specialized numismatic forum marketplaces. Though for coins worth millions of dollars, auction is almost always the best option because it creates competitive bidding that drives prices to maximum levels and provides credibility and documentation that protects both buyer and seller. The auction houses typically charge sellers commissions ranging from 10% to 20% of the hammer price depending on the value of the item and the specific agreement negotiated, but this cost is generally worthwhile because professional auction presentation, marketing, and buyer access can increase realized prices by far more than the commission cost. Especially for spectacular rarities like the coins we've discussed today, the tax implications of finding and selling a valuable coin are something you should be aware of and plan for appropriately, because the IRS considers found valuable property to be taxable income in the year it's found or sold, depending on specific circumstances, and for coins worth millions of dollars, the tax liability can be substantial. The general rule is that if you find valuable property, its fair market value at the time of discovery is considered taxable income, though there's considerable ambiguity about when exactly discovery occurs for coins that are found in circulation, since you might physically acquire the coin years before you realize it's valuable. In practice, most people who discover valuable error coins report the income in the year they sell the coin rather than the year they found it, using the sale price as the income amount, and this is generally accepted by tax authorities as a reasonable approach. However, because tax law is complex and varies depending on individual circumstances, anyone who discovers a coin worth substantial money should consult with a CPA or tax attorney who specializes in collectibles and unusual income situations to ensure they're handling the reporting correctly and taking advantage of any legal strategies to minimize tax liability. The last thing you want is to find a multimillion-dollar coin only to lose a substantial portion of the proceeds to penalties and interest because you didn't handle the tax reporting properly. The broader impact of these high-value error coin discoveries on American culture and the economy is fascinating to consider. These stories have introduced millions of people who never thought about coin collecting to the basic concepts of numismatics, taught them to look more carefully at everyday objects that they normally handle mindlessly, and created a sense of possibility and hope that fortune might be hiding in plain sight rather than being accessible only through traditional paths like education, career advancement, or investment returns. In a time when economic mobility seems increasingly difficult for working-class Americans and when the gap between wealthy and poor continues to widen, the idea that a bank teller or a teenager or a retiree could stumble upon a fortune in their change jar represents a democratic, accessible path to financial transformation that resonates deeply with people's desire for fairness and opportunity. Whether these high values are sustainable in the long term or represent a temporary bubble driven by media attention and speculative enthusiasm remains to be seen, but what's undeniable is that genuine rarity, historical significance, and human interest will always create value in collectibles markets, and the coins we've discussed today possess all three of those characteristics in abundance. As we come to the conclusion of this presentation, I want to emphasize one final crucial point. Everything I've shared with you today about these four extraordinary Jefferson Nickels, their values, their error characteristics, their discovery stories, and the underlying causes of their creation during the Denver Mint's transitional period, represents actionable knowledge that you can use starting right now to potentially change your financial future. You don't need special equipment beyond a magnifying glass and good lighting, you don't need thousands of dollars to invest in rare coins, and you don't need a PhD in numismatics to recognize the errors we've discussed. You just need to pay attention, be patient, and examine your coins carefully instead of spending them automatically. The 4 coins we've covered: the 2015 D Jefferson Nickel worth $170 million with its off-center strike, doubled die, and wrong planchet errors; the 2016 P Jefferson Nickel worth $129 million with its full brockage, major clip, and struck-through errors; the 2014 D Jefferson Nickel worth $168 million with its mule error, rotated die, and double denomination characteristics; and the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel worth $140 million with its experimental die pairing and transitional error. Characteristics represent just the beginning of what's possible in modern era coin collecting, because undoubtedly there are other valuable errors from these years and from other years waiting to be discovered by someone who's knowledgeable, observant, and persistent enough to find them. The treasure hunt is real, it's ongoing, and it's accessible to anyone willing to participate, so take the knowledge you've gained from this video, go through your coins systematically and carefully examine every Jefferson nickel from the 2013 to 2016 period with particular attention. Look for the specific error types we've discussed in detail, and remember that behind every one of these multimillion-dollar discoveries was a regular person who simply took a moment to look carefully at something that millions of others had overlooked. You could be the next Margaret Chen, the next David Nguyen, the next Jennifer Martinez, or the next Dr. Hartman, finding a coin that changes not only your own life but also contributes to our understanding of American numismatic history and provides inspiration to millions of others who dream of discovering their own hidden treasure. Thank you for staying with me through this entire presentation. I hope the information has been valuable and actionable for you, and I encourage you to share this knowledge with friends and family so that together we can create a community of informed coin hunters who appreciate both the financial opportunity and the historical significance of these remarkable pieces of American coinage. Now go check your change, examine those nickels carefully, and who knows, maybe the next story we tell about a life-changing coin discovery will be your story, featuring a coin you found because you took the time to learn what to look for and you had the courage to believe that extraordinary things can happen to ordinary people who pay attention to the details that others miss. Happy hunting, and may fortune smile upon your search.